What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for joining me for this review of The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 7, Episode 14, Shakeups and Makeups. So we are still at the dinner where Charisse and Karen had that big blowout fight. And everybody was banging on the table, and glasses and plates were flying everywhere. It was hectic. So Karen is upset with Charisse because Charisse had come to her mother's funeral uninvited. And Karen doesn't believe that Charisse showing up at her mother's funeral was really for the right reasons or that it was coming from a genuine place. So she says that her aunt had told her that if Charisse mentions the fact that she came to your mother's funeral on camera, that's how you're going to know that her intentions were not pure, that she was doing it strictly for clout or whatever. So it's mentioned on camera. It was mentioned on camera that Charisse has shown up at Karen's mother's funeral. And so Karen has concluded that that whole act of her showing up for the funeral was not for support or anything like that. So it was very self-serving. It was kind of like, hey, look at me. I'm a great friend because I showed up at Karen's mother's funeral when nobody else did. So Charisse herself says that she had no ill intent when she showed up for the funeral, and that nobody else even came. Now that's what I want to know. Why didn't anybody else come to Karen's mother's funeral? Were they not invited or what? So then Robin calls Karen out for being disingenuous about saying things were good between her and Charisse when they really were not, because they showed us flashback clips of Charisse and Karen seeming to have cleared the air, and Karen telling Charisse, we're good. Everything is fine between us. So Robin calls her out and says, so you were being fake when you were saying that because you're still holding this grudge against Charisse. Charisse accuses Karen of being in rehab and also accuses Karen of having having boyfriends or whatever. Moving on from there, Mia and Jacqueline, they're having a conversation in private about their argument. So Jacqueline wants Mia to take back what she said about her sleeping with married men. Mia said, that's not going to be happening. So then Jacqueline accuses Mia of getting with Gordon while Gordon was still married. And Mia says, I've always owned up to that. That's never been a secret. So I need you to do the same thing. I've always owned up to that. So Mia said that she had already, so then Jacqueline says that their friendship is over. I guess I never was really clear if Mia meant that Jacqueline had slept with Gordon, or if she was just making a general statement that Jacqueline associates herself with married men. That really wasn't clear to me. Anyways, moving on. So the second day of the trip, Jacqueline says in her confessional that ever since she's noticed that Mia has changed. Mia is no longer the same down to earth type of person she was before she became wealthy. Now Mia is all about money and opening up clinics and making more and more money. So she talks about how Mia has completely changed as a person. So then Ashley has arranged for everybody to go to something called a cenote, and it's just this like natural pool or like this little lake or something where you're supposed to be cleansed and whatever. So at that point, when they're on their way there, Karen is asking Robin about whether or not she has picked a wedding date, and Robin says, yes, we have a date and no one's invited. Karen seems to believe that Robin is not really going to get married. This is all smoke and mirrors, that she has no intentions of really getting married. So the cenote was a complete fail because everybody was getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. So then after that, they go to lunch. Karen asks, how is Ashley and Candace doing regarding their friendship after Ashley brought in her friend Deborah, who accused Chris of, flirting really heavily with her. And so the question was, does Ashley regret bringing her friend into the mix? Because, that caused a lot of problems between Ashley and Candace. Ashley says that if it was her, she would always want to know what her man was up to. So she would welcome friends to tell her if they saw her man doing something. And Candace says The reason why you say that is because that's the type of relationship that you had with your husband, where, your husband was always up to no good. And so people always had to come and tell you what your husband was doing. But that's not how it is with everybody. My relationship with Chris is not like that. I'm not sitting around trying to wonder and figure out what is my husband doing. And I need people to report to me all the time what my husband is doing when I'm not with him, because I know my husband is not up to no good. I have trust and faith in my husband. So I don't need people coming up to me telling me what Chris is or isn't doing. So you're trying to deflect all of your issues with your broken marriage on my marriage. And my marriage is nothing like yours. So, point taken, right? So Candace also said that when her and Ashley are in a good place, Ashley always does something to sabotage it, which is absolutely true, because this is very similar to with the whole Monique situation. Candace thought that her and Ashley were in a good place when then Ashley dropped the bomb on her that she was going to testify on behalf of, that she had written a statement on behalf of Monique to help Monique's case, when in Candace's eyes, Monique attacked her. So that's absolutely true. So then Wendy says, whenever the three of us, she gave an example, like, when we're together, Ashley, Candace, Wendy, it's good. We have fun. We have a really good time. So maybe what y'all need to do is just leave the past in the past and just try to move forward. So then at dinner, later on that evening, they all go out to dinner, and the first thing that's talked about is Robin's damn wedding. Robin says that she's getting married in Jamaica because her brother-in-law is going to be getting married in Jamaica. So her and Juan are going to go there with the kids for the brother-in-law's wedding, and then the next day they're going to have a very secret ceremony of their own, just with them two and their children, because they don't want to take the shine away or take the attention away from the brother. Girl, look. If you're so worried about taking the attention away from your brother-in-law's wedding, and that's why y'all are going to sneak away the next day and have your own secret ceremony, then why don't you just have a regular wedding way before or way after the brother-in-law's wedding? Y'all are using the brother-in-law's wedding as an excuse of why y'all are going to have a secret wedding with nobody there. Karen, like I said, she does not believe that Robin's going to be getting married at all, period. Giselle says that the fight between Charisse and Karen did not sit well with her, which is funny that she says that, because Giselle started the fight. She instigated the fight when she told Charisse that she had posted that picture of Karen's nip slip because she was mad that she wasn't invited to Karen's what was it, open mic night or whatever, evening at the Improv or whatever the hell it was. So Giselle instigates the fight, but then she has the audacity to say the fight between y'all just didn't sit well with me. Then why did you start it? So she believes that Charisse's character was completely assassinated. Charisse is she says that Charisse is an honest and amazing person, and she is the real queen of Potomac. So they were saying all the things to trigger Karen, praising Charisse, talking about how wonderful she is, and crowning her as the real queen of Potomac, because that's going to get under Karen's skin, because Karen has always seen herself as, the true queen of Potomac. So Karen says that she's done with it. She goes, I'm done with it. I'm not talking about it anymore. So then Robin has to chime in because, she is Giselle's lackey. And so she has to show support for Giselle. And she chimes in and she says that she implies that Karen is never held accountable. She goes, everybody else is held to the fire for their actions except for Karen. Karen, gets away with whatever the hell she wants to get away with, and she's never held accountable. And she also says that her current behavior, of the previous night was very contradictory of the person Karen tries to present herself to be, because she tries to present herself to be very classy, very dignified. And here she was, arguing with Charisse. They were cussing each other out, banging on tables, acting really rough. So then Karen, so then she also said, Robin wasn't done. Robin also says that for Charisse to show up to the funeral was an act. No, she says that it was wrong for Karen to turn Charisse showing up to the funeral as an act of insincerity. Basically saying that Charisse went to the funeral for the right reasons to support Karen and to give her condolences, and for Karen to turn that around and say that it was, she just showed up for clout, or she just showed up for whatever reason and it wasn't sincere and it wasn't from a genuine place. That was really wrong of Karen to do that. She turned a good act into something really bad and dirty, which it wasn't, according to Robin. So Charisse herself, she says that she's experienced many losses. She talked about her brothers dying, her sister dying, her parents dying. And she says that if anybody were to show up to the funeral of any one of my family members, I would never turn it into anything negative. So Charisse brought, then she talks about how she brought the group together, for the show, The Real Housewives of Potomac. She was the one that had really casted everybody. And the only reason that Karen ended up showing up on the cast was because Karen happened to have been sitting at Charisse's table at some event, I guess. And someone had thought that Karen and Charisse were friends. And so they added Karen to the list as well. Even though Karen and Charisse did not know each other at the time that this group of women were put together for the show. I thought that was really interesting. But I kind of don't believe the story that just because Karen was sitting at the same table with Charisse, that somebody just included her as to be part of the cast. Because I think that the women have to go through some type of a process in order to be picked for the show. And I just can't believe that Karen got picked just because she was sitting at I don't know, maybe it's true. So, she talks about how she brought this group together. Basically, like, Karen should be grateful to Charisse. She gave you this opportunity, but for Charisse, nobody would know who the hell you were. And you wouldn't have all the opportunities that you got from being on this show. Like, selling her perfumes and selling her candles, etc., etc. So Robin says that she sees Karen for who she is. And that is someone who's full of it. You're full of it. You're full of BS. And Robin tells Karen that you just don't want Charisse around, and you're trying to find an excuse to get rid of her. They went hard on Karen. They went super hard on Karen by praising Charisse, making Karen look like a really horrible person for taking Charisse's act of kindness of showing up at her mother's funeral, by taking that act of kindness and turning it into something bad and negative, crowning Charisse as the real queen of Potomac. I mean, they went hard on Karen, but Karen kept her composure. She kept her composure. She was like, you know what? They can say and do whatever the hell they want to say and do. I know who I am, and I'm going to stand where I stand, and no one is going to move me. And she said that the reason why, in her confessional, Karen says the reason why they were going so hard for Charisse was because Charisse has a lot of information on them. So then Robin calls Karen out for apologizing to the group, but not apologizing directly to Charisse. And so this triggers Candace. And Candace says, okay, so y'all want to hold Karen to the fire for not apologizing directly to Charisse, but y'all said nothing when Mia refused to apologize directly to Wendy, but instead apologized to the group. So why the double standard? So then this starts this starts Mia and Wendy going at it. So Mia stands her ground and says that she is still not sorry to Wendy, and she's not going to apologize to Wendy. So then Mia and Wendy, they go back and forth. Wendy tells Mia that she heard that Mia was going around telling people that Wendy was calling Gordon gay. And Mia said, well, you did. You did say that he's sleeping with men. And they rolled the tape back, and this is what I had said from the beginning, that Mia was not implying that Gordon was gay. Mia said that you and your husband sleep with men and women. Why did Mia automatically attribute that statement to mean that Wendy was saying Gordon was the one sleeping with the men? It was very clear to me that Wendy was saying that Mia sleeping with a whole bunch of other men, Gordon is sleeping with a whole bunch of other women. That's the kind of marriage that they have. But I don't know why Mia took that as Wendy saying that Gordon was gay. And then Mia is so stupid. She tries to flip it around and say, well, so you think there's something wrong with men sleeping with men? because Wendy was denying that she ever said that. And so then Mia says, so you think there's something wrong with men sleeping with men? You know, trying to make out Wendy into looking like a homophobe. Oh, God, these women are exhausting. So Wendy says, my issue with you, Mia, is you throwing the drink at me. That's my issue with you. You threw the damn drink at me. And so Mia gave her a very weak and flippant apology. Okay, girl, I'm sorry for throwing the drink at you. Anything else? And Wendy says, well, don't do it again. I let you get away with it this time. But the next time you do that, there's going to be consequences. And that's basically where the episode ended. Very intense, very, very, like, oh, it was a lot. This episode was a lot. Charisse and Karen, I'm like more confused now than I ever was before, because now I'm like, I always thought, like I said before, I always thought that the problem, the situation between Charisse and Karen was that Charisse had revealed that Karen had a boyfriend on the side at one of the reunions. And if Charisse has more information on Karen, and that's the reason why Karen doesn't see it for her, wouldn't you think that Karen will try to be a little bit nicer to Charisse so that Charisse does not reveal this information? I don't know. Also, the fact that Karen is going so hard on Robin, now I can see why in her confessionals she is talking about how Robin is not going to have a real wedding. You know, it's going to be a fake wedding, so on and so forth. And the reason why she's saying all that in the confessional was because Robin came after her. Robin was the one that started the whole, Karen is bad and Charisse is good conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content. Go ahead and subscribe, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.